Hey, hey. Today we're going to be reacting to another Marco Satsu video. I'm trying to find the right angle, say it and stuff. This one is called What Counts as Tokusatsu. Okay. Tokusatsu, I know that Tokusatsu is basically practical suits, right? Suits used the acting to not use much graphics or CGI and stuff like that. No need for a lot of that. But I want to see what counts as that, if you get what I mean. But like, subscribe, turn on notification if you haven't, and let us start.
Markosatsu.
Tokusatsu is a huge medium. Many shows fall under this umbrella, including shows we're all familiar with. Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, Power Rangers, Ultraman, shows about superheroes trying to defeat the big bad. On the other hand, Godzilla and Garo are a bit different from that formula, and have their own tone. There's also countless other toku such as Gavan, Cicada, Spider-Man, Ms. Koitsu from the Monster Development Department. That title kept coming. Other than looking on Wikipedia for lists of tokusatsu, how do we really know whether something is a tokusatsu or not? We can start off by looking at the very definition of tokusatsu. Tokusatsu, literally special effects, is a Japanese term for live action film or television drama that makes heavy use of practical special effects. So that definition itself gives us two requirements. It's live action, and it uses practical special effects, and not too much CGI. Yeah, whatever you say. So, what shows are tokusatsu? There's a stark difference between toku media and toku-based media, so which shows are which? Let's start off with some recent classics, Shin Godzilla and Shin Ultraman. Both of these movies use CGI to portray the kaiju and the characters, but they still use practical effects with the buildings falling, the rivers pooling, and while Godzilla and Ultraman were CGI, they were also motion captured, which emulated the suitmation technology Godzilla created. And what about Legendary's Godzilla? Godzilla was also motion captured there, along with having live action elements, and even the fan base have named this as Ameritoku, or literally American Toku. I would say that Shin and Legendary Godzilla and Shin Ultraman are more so evolutions of tokusatsu, sort of a look how far we've come type of deal. It doesn't outright replace modern tokusatsu, but it gives us an example of how tokusatsu could be. What about anime? Futo Pi, Garo the Animation, and Gridman are based off of real toku shows, but they lack the most important element of a tokusation, which is live action. Sure, tokusatsu today might not have exactly the most realistic stunts and moves, and it could be compared to anime, but the live action element shows what can be done with real people. Anything and everything can be drawn to an artist's desire. Not saying it's bad or anything, but they're missing the human element, and that's okay. These shows are cool regardless. However, they aren't tokusatsu. More so, toku adjacent. This sadly locks anything that's anime or cartoons out of the running. SSS Gridman, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Gundam, all these have tokusatsu elements like kaiju, transformations, or giant robots, but they aren't live action, making them not tokusatsu. Reaching more into British territory, we have Doctor Who, a show that many people, funnily enough, see as similar to Kamen Rider. From the gimmicks to the difference in protagonists from each season, and even their hiatuses were around the same time. What funny coincidences. This show does technically fit into tokusatsu. It is a live action show with practical effects.
Yes.
So why don't we reach a tiny bit into technicality? Most superhero movies, or even any action media, could technically count as a tokusatsu. The MCU and DCEU are live action and use mocap, which could count as tokusatsu. The Batman especially is raw live action with little to no CGI, so that could also be considered tokusatsu. If you want to reach even further, I would say Detective Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog could count, but they mostly use CGI for every movie with little to no practical effects. So
I
maybe
love
not
Sonic and
Big Hero
Detective
6
Pikachu.
and Turning Red have
people
huge tokusatsu influences, but they're animated, so they don't count. Miraculous Ladybug? Maybe the real tokusatsu was us all along? Okay, I know this is such
or
a
the
silly
Flash.
topic, especially when I'm bringing these things up, but hey, this is why I'm bringing them up. You can't deny that action and superhero media both get
Mm-hmm.
inspiration from tokusatsu and vice versa. The MCU and DCEU use transformations and fights that are very toku-esque and can be considered a Maritoku. Miraculous Ladybug is structured just like a Heisei season and has a ton of toku elements like transformations, kaijus, even power-up forms. Turning Red has scenes obviously inspired by Godzilla and Ultraman, and so many anime released has at least one reference to a Kamen Rider's transformation pose or catchphrase. Doesn't this make it hard to classify tokusatsu? Does the only answer to this question always have to be, if it looks like Power Rangers, then it's a tokusatsu?
No.
Well, yes,
What?
and there's not really any problem with that. The definition of tokusatsu has definitely evolved over the years. Toku today can be more described as henshin hero shows than just a drama with special effects. But it's more than that. It's more of a medium and stylistic choice now than an overall genre. It's so unique yet similar to other pieces of media that the only way you can really identify what counts as tokusatsu is by watching the show
For
itself.
yeah.
Does it have practical effects? Rubber looking monsters? Transformations galore? Cool catchphrases? Hand-to-hand combat? Looks like Power Rangers or Godzilla? You're most likely watching a tokusatsu. And if you can't really tell, then I guess you can look at Wikipedia or something. So final thoughts. Anime isn't tokusatsu, but it can be tokusatsu influenced or toku adjacent.
Okay.
Anything that's live action with practical effects could, yes, technically count as tokusatsu, but there's a certain style and feel
the
to it
Ninja
that
Turtle
has
movie,
to
I
count.
love
And while
that.
most of it, yes, can derive from
The
Japanese
first one I liked,
influences,
the
has
other one I
evolved
didn't.
over the decades.
Others I
Power
didn't.
Rangers is tokusatsu. Doctor Who is tokusatsu. And even beyond all that, I think what we can all agree on is that tokusatsu is pretty cool.
For sure. Thank you, Marco Satsu. Okay, so I definitely learned something because I thought that like Iron Man and things from the MCU wasn't like tokusatsu. But they called it Amerisatsu, basically Americans tokusatsu and mocap and stuff like that. Not mocap, mocap's the games. I'm gonna just call it mocap because that's basically what it is. Is advanced version of tokusatsu. I mean, I guess they do wear a suit. I don't know. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and kind of tell me your thoughts on, you know, what counts as tokusatsu, and tell me the wildest thing you think is a tokusatsu. Even if you see this video years on, I'll still reply to it. Don't worry about it. Anyways, that's all for now. Bye.